Hello, my name is Samuel Antonio Reyes, Sammy. I am a choreographer, a director, a producer, a writer, a singer, an actor, and an arts educator. Yes.
All right. So thank you so much for being here with us today, Sammy. So folks are either about to, sometimes we do it after the screening as well, I should have mentioned. They're
Mm,
about to see an anniversary screening of In the Heights. So obviously, we know this movie came out when it did. It was initially supposed to be released earlier, but then COVID happened. But then
mm.
we also have the show celebrating how long ago Lin-Manuel Miranda graced us with this fantastic story of In the Heights. And I wanted to talk to you for a multitude of different reasons. One, just amplifying who you are as a person, who you are as a creator, and then your relationship within the Heights. So,
Mm.
let's get started. How would you describe your artistic identity and how that journey started?
I would say my artistic identity started actually visually. I would say that my artistic identity is actually a well-rounded artist because the first thing I did do was visual art. I was a painter, a graphic designer, and a animation person. I like was obsessed to be a Disney animator, and I actually went to University of Arts, got accepted to University of Arts, and got a scholarship to attend UArts for graphic design and all that visual art media. Which actually I was so upset that that happened because I didn't want to go there, but changed my major at UArts into theater. And then I graduated and became a dancer. I was already a dancer because I was a street dancer, which is why I have a certain take on the show In the Heights. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you so much. So
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about In the Heights. What can you share a little bit about your first interaction with the show, and then maybe because I know what your relationship is to the show, but would you mind sharing with our viewers what that relationship is?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a relationship where thank you, Lin Manuel, for hiring all my friends. But also, it was a moment where musical theater in my career was not hitting. And what I mean by that is, we had just graduated and the 9/11 happened and Broadway was shutting down. And then it was shutting down everything that was coming out because all of a sudden it was all about revivals and revival and jukebox musicals and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, and The Heights came out when I remember being on tour and I remember like all of a sudden there was this I saw the poster, and when I saw the poster, I was like, "Wait a minute, is that a Latin play? Is that a show about all Latinos?" Now, you know, cut to the production itself and all the amazing artists who worked on it. My closest person I do know is Mandy Gonzalez, who originated Nina, and then my friend Step Stewart, who actually Seth Stewart, not Step. Step is his uncle, Seth. Seth Stewart, who actually choreographed the show, along with other people like Andy Blayton who actually was very smart in the way he did the show, hence winning him a Tony Award. But I didn't have any belief in him, and it's funny because I know a lot of artists who, for example, the Rocksteady crew, who's a breaking crew out of New York. I remember them boycotting this show and being like, where did Lin Manuel get the idea to talk about In the Heights when he grew up with a father who basically fed him on a silver spoon? And I get that completely. I understand that. Appropriation is no joke. I mean, the thing about it though too is like we celebrate the show because of its Latino representation. They could have done a little bit better, and we've heard those clips about people talking about the Latinos not being represented, which is my people. People always tend to look at me like, "Oh, wait, your name is Puerto Rican, but you're black," and I'm like, "Let's fix that." So, yeah, a lot of that came from the beginning of it, which made me say, "You know what? Let me go check this show out and see what it's about." And yeah, when you watch In the Heights and you get to the abuela part, that's when you realize how many Latinos are connected by our ancestors and our legacy and how important that is in our culture. and how we need to really, and we go back and respect that, you know. So, and that's the part of the show that hooked me. On top of course, the brilliant staging and choreography that you saw with the live production. It was just breathtaking, and it was the first time in a minute, I would say, since the musical Aida, where I was like, oh my god, I'm back in love with Broadway, because now I'm seeing more people who are like me. Not only they like me, they're making jokes, they're doing cultural commentary, in which we all know that you say if you're Latino, doesn't matter if you're Dominican, Puerto Rican, Mexican, or South American, like, certain things, like, if your grandmother speaks to you a certain way, we all know how to react to those things. So I think when I saw the show and he captured that, and he captured the responsibility of being the first of an immigrant family, it hit home. It hit home. That song, that song on the show, Home. Yeah, that song is real. So
Thank
I'm
you.
getting like emotional thinking about it.
Oh, it's a very emotional piece, and it's
Mhm.
so like, thank you so much for bringing up that criticism surrounding like the Afro-Latino community, because I actually was going to bring that up because there was a lot of discussion first, like surrounding the show, and there is a burden with being like the first person to kind of like launch the story and do it. There's responsibility of like, yeah, you're going to be open to criticism. You are white presenting. And now obviously we know what his identity is, but then it's like, okay, when we're talking about Dominican Republic specifically, and Washington Heights specifically, if anyone has been there, it's like, hold on, there are people of color here, and not all of it are shades of white. So we need to talk about
Yeah.
that. In the movie, I feel like there was a lot of criticism over the casting of the leads specifically, because initially there was feedback of saying, oh, there's so many people involved in the movie, but none of them are leads. With the exception of obviously Benny, but Benny is not of the Latino community. But and some people argued that that was intentional because we wanted to show that ostracization of Benny. But I digress. I think it's awesome that that conversation was happening, because I feel like anyone who's had this criticism of it, and you're a testament to it, they're criticizing it because they're rooting for it. Like this idea that we're celebrating this type of a story. Like
Mhm.
obviously we want it to be representative. So thank you so much for sharing that. I was going to say something. Oh, just the idea of Lin-Manuel in general. With Hamilton, and I'm not sure if you got to interact with Warriors. I actually got to meet him back in December, and
Mhm.
it's one of those moments where you're just kind of like, yes, there's so much criticism, but then you're just like, you did this thing, and I just want to celebrate it, and I love it, and
Mhm.
I'm so excited, excuse me. I'm so excited that we are screening it in July after the 4th of July. Everyone's going to have their plans.
Mhm.
But around this time, especially I'm currently in Philly and experiencing the heat wave that just happened. It's like, okay, let's put it into context. How does this impact relationships, right? But
Mhm.
in your view, do you feel like anything has necessarily changed in the industry or in society since In the Heights first premiered, in regards to what we're talking about with community and identity, and what hasn't changed?
Mhm. Well, when it comes to community and identity, let's go to the movie, and let's go to Daniela's shop, and let's cut to three of my friends being in the scene: Miss Jessica Ida Castro, Miss Desiree Godspell, and of course we have the amazing Holly Wright. Holly Wright, African American. Desiree Godspell, mixed. Miss Jessica Ida Castro, obviously Latina, right? And it's funny because they do the whole nail choreography. They're in that whole scene there, and watching them do that, that's New York, and that's New York, like, in the barrio. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when people were complaining, I was cracking up because I was like, "Have y'all ever walked through Brooklyn? Like, have y'all walked to the Heights before?" Like, no, he got it right. He got, like, Anthony Ramos. Like, I'm so glad that he was the lead, because here's his beautiful self with curly brown hair, which now it's brown. I don't know what he's doing with his hair, but it was black. And then those beautiful eyes and freckles. And that's the problem. Is like, I don't like that Latinos have to be a certain color, because everybody's not Jennifer Lopez or Ricky Martin. Okay, and I grew up with that. I grew up with people, like I said before, people seeing my name and then being like, wait, but you're black. And you're like, no, we exist. So I'm glad that conversation came up. I did not appreciate the conversation coming up, because I love Lynn and I love what he's done, not only for In the Heights, but for changing the idea of diversifying casting and making it about the script when he did Hamilton, you know? And it's also, if you don't know if you're ever familiar with 21 Chump Street, his other musical, which is only 15 minutes long. And, to be honest, Allie, like I am so lucky for his work because since In the Heights opened, Mama's been working a lot and I've been doing a lot of his work. I always get teamed up with his work because it is, and I hate this word, I'm not gonna lie to you, it is urban, and but like, it comes from the African diaspora influence with the Latino influence in there, or not just the white influence, but also a diverse influence. When it's not just black, white, it's like Filipino, it's everybody. Because Lin Manuel is the reason why I fell back in love with Broadway, is because he reestablished community and family. This man changed all of my friends' lives in both musicals. And now I'm getting emotional again. And in The Heights and with Hamilton, and it's like, you go from friends who were living on couches and now they're singing backup for Lynn in every movie that he's making with Disney. Like my friend Voltaire now has his own apartment. He's married and has a little baby girl, because he was able to make money and survive off of Lynn always doing what? Building community. I know people are shady with being like, oh, he ain't from the community. Yes, he is. Because when you go back to where your people came from, like that whole joke about US Navy and Usnavi, that's so Latino. That's so my uncles, who came from Puerto Rico to here, who they don't understand anything but how to make a check. You know what I'm saying? So like it's just he knows how to capture community. And in that, he makes one, which is beautiful, like I said before, because look, if you look at all his work, it's all still being licensed, used, and housed, toured. I bet you if In the Heights came out again on tour. Now I'm trying to be cute. I don't know. I might lose this one, but between Rent and In the Heights, um, I think In the Heights might give Rent a little run for its money. I mean, without Jonathan Larson, we wouldn't have In the Heights, because that structure of doing theater is the reason why Hamilton and In the Heights are so successful. Lin Manuel is brilliant, and it's funny because we're close to the same age, and I've watched many interviews with him. And when he makes cultural references, I'm like, were we growing up in the same school? Like, he has a great thumb on the vibe of musical theater and how it should be represented. And to see what he did on the 10th anniversary, 10 years already of Hamilton, like really, and like you watch their presentation at the Tonys, and you're just like, it's not just Hamilton. Hamilton represents, and what's her name? Renee says this very well, and Renee, love her. She was the last Mimi in Rent, and like it's like when Renee said this recently, where she was like, yeah, to be in the room doing it again reminded me of the greatness of the project in which we did. And I think whenever anyone does that twice, like In the Heights, cultural shift, Hamilton, cultural shift, and he didn't even fall on his culture for Hamilton. Yeah, Alexander's from the Caribbean. That's all you heard about, right? So like and then he did the movie, and you're right, COVID pushed it back and everything, but just understanding the beauty of Lin Manuel's artistry. I also do like too how he is like a Sondheim person. He has a certain style. I have people who hate on him because they're like, doesn't this sound like blah blah blah? I'm like, well, if you ever do an Alan Menken musical, you can pick out Little Shop of Horrors out of every show that you do. Okay, so that's the thing what I love about Lynn. To me, is real musical theater, and I'm so happy he's Latino. He may be privileged, but guess what? He gives back.
Thank you so much. Yes, I couldn't agree more. And so you were talking about being able to do his work. So When let's talk movement. So when you're choreographing a show like In the Heights, where do you personally begin? Do you start with character, music, or community context? Where do you start?
I like to start with character, me being an actor first. Um, which is why I became a choreographer because I was tired of doing shows where I'm like, wait, this choreographer has no clue how to tap into actors' intentions when they move. And when you come to an actor and you build like a nice, safe structure, and you basically say, this is what I would love to accomplish, this is what I would love to do, this is what I see in you. How would you like to contribute to this? And I think in that conversation, and then I go into the style. So when I was choreographing In the Heights, I did a lot of it's funny, I did a lot of like dance hall, like a lot of winding, and of course we did salsa, we did baracha, we did hip hop, a little bit of hip hop, we did street jazz, and then oh my gosh, the best number is Carnaval de Barrio. We did it at Muhlenberg College, and I tell you, you gotta get a chance to watch that number. We killed that. That was amazing. And then when I did 21 Chump Street, I did it in the structure of homage to Hamilton, which is actually a homage to Merce Cunningham and Jonathan Larson. And what that means by that is making installational choreography. So I made the choreography for 21 Chump Street more about certain images that you will actually tap into when you're speaking. So, for example, when they were talking about Naomi and she was a cop, I had all the actors coming in and they would stop and do the "Oh, I pledge," when you're at a jewelry stand and things like that. And then when I choreographed, oh my God, I also did Bring It On. What? When I also choreographed Bring It On, obviously we were doing cheering, you know what I'm saying? And obviously that called for hip hop. So that was, yeah. So I worked towards the honesty of the script, but then I choreographed to the energy of the music because I'm a huge energy person. I'm the guy who's like, oh my gosh, I'm falling asleep. Even to my own choreography, I'd be like, this part sucks. Change it. Yeah. So that's where I come from. My work.
Absolutely. Thank you. So,
hmm
you mentioned Muhlenberg College and working on In the Heights. Do you have any stories from maybe rehearsal or working with the actors and dancers that helped bring the neighborhood to life on stage? And or anything that kind of resonated with you when you saw this film about how movement kind of incorporated that?
Well, it's so funny you say that because this is once again showing how much this production follows me. I don't follow it. I had just made a joke at Muhlenberg because there's only 4 people who look like me there, and I was like, "Wouldn't it be cute if we did In the Heights?" And my director Jim Peck, he was like, "No, we can do it." And I was like, "How? Do we have people to do it?" And they actually did it for their SMT, which was their summer music theater, which they actually have open calls for. We got so many amazing Allentown or Lehigh Valley Latinos that came in to work with us. It was amazing. I'm not gonna lie to you, Allie. When I was getting a check for it, I was like, I'm getting paid for this right now. It's one of those jobs where you go, you know what? It was so beautiful. We got to work with alumni like Jimmy McKittrick, um, Cepeda. What was her first name? Gabe Martinez, and then his wife, and we had the amazing teacher that we had there, Roberta. I forget her last name, but a moment that really makes me go, boom. We were doing the ending. Oh, I'm getting emotional now. We were doing the ending, and Roberta, who plays Abuela, obviously she's gone, right? She's like Bernardo. Have a seat and just watch, right? So she's watching, and I forgot she didn't see the ending yet. And we got to the ending, and I choreographed it where it was more because I'm an actor. I believe in beats, moments, building like we do in scenes. And I built it to the point where it was like a sprinkle there, a sprinkle there, a sprinkle there, and all of a sudden this whole block came to life. And I look over to Roberta, and she is sobbing in tears. And I turned to her, and I was like, at the end we were done. Oh, and she goes, she looked at me. She's like, I don't know what to say. And I was like, is it bad? She was like, no. She was just like, from the moment where they pulled down the grate, she was done. And that's when I looked at her and I go, that's why I do what I do. because if I can get an actor to fall in love with a production and we walk out of it as conquerors or warriors of such a beautiful comment, and we are a community who made this story so profound that we don't want to give it up because it moves us so much. And just so you know the three numbers where Abuela dies. I was in a coma state because it's so emotional. So when I saw her crying, I was crying with her, and the whole cast saw us crying. And that's when they woke up and they were like, and a cast needs to see that. They need to see things. They need to see their artistic people respond to them, because then they go, oh, we're doing something right. I can keep on taking that risk and go further with that decision. And that's what they did every night when that grate came down and that last moment happened. Oh, I gotta like pull it together before I start breaking down crying, because every night that we even ran it or teched it, I was bawling. I mean, it was so bad. It was so bad that one time I called my mother after rehearsal, and I was just calling her back, and she was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Well, we're in tech rehearsal for the show." And of course, she was like, "What show is it?" And I told her, and I was like, "In the High." She was like, "Oh yeah." So yeah, I mean, it doing it at Muhlenberg A, the way it sold out, every performance sold out. I also talking to the young kids after the show who had done it. Oh my God, I did it at a high school here. And I was blown away that they all came. They also came to audition. It was so cute. They all came to audition. I love them. And of course those kids are now older and they're all graduated, you know what I'm saying? But the respect that the Lehigh Valley has for that number is truly something that I'm proud that we were able to do. And then just my initiative of being like, can we diversify our program? Because once that happened, it put Muhlenberg on the map for taking a risk. And we took a risk. And at the beginning, Allie, people were walking out being like, I don't understand a word Gabe is saying. Ga, 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 ga. And I'm like, well, you're white. I get it. It's okay. But also, he isn't very articulate. It's all right. But on top of that, he was killing it. You know what I'm saying? He was killing it. And he was doing, and it was beautiful because, he's alumni, and then you had Jane McKittrick who came back and played out Daniela. And people were coming at her for not being Latina enough. And they don't know that she is Latina. And it was kind of like her little moment to be like, no, 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 no. I'm part Mexican, just so y'all know. So it was a beautiful, I mean, but my biggest gripe, and this is my gripe with everything I work on, and you know this because we've had this conversation, sound, the band. Unfortunately, the band could not get enough people who actually understood the style in which they were working, which is fine. But we were still able to overcome that with such heart and dedication to the piece that, I mean, every night, Allie, it's sold out. Like drones. And the beauty about that every night was the fact that, I mean, I left and came back and saw the last show they did, and the standing ovation they got, the screaming they got. They were like superstars. And I'm so happy the way it turned out. And honestly, it's one of those shows where if I get offered again, which I have been offered it again, I have to truly believe in who I'm working with to understand how important not only the authenticity of the piece, but the creativity of the piece, and like really tapping into what Lynn wrote and not adapting it in a way that makes you say, well, here we go again. Once again, people are appropriating our piece of theater. I mean, that's like when you have, what is it called? Chorus line, which is going to be 50 years old this year, right? And you have that, and then you have what's Morales in it. And Morales is always played by either a Jewish woman or Italian. And you're like, what? What? So the first time they had a real Latina in the revival, and she was brown skin, you know what I'm saying, as Morales, it makes you realize like it's important that we respect what's on the page. There's a reason why it wrote what it won what it won, got the recognition, it got the recognition. Be authentic in it. And also when you're producing it, like respect those who you're working with. Like understand who you're casting, understand who's identifying. It's one of those plays where all of Lynn's plays are like this. where you really have to ask in the room, are we truly being, what is the word? True to diversity and inclusion, you know? That was a long one. Sorry.
No, you're good. That's all amazing. Thank you so much. And it's actually a pretty good segue to my last question for you, which is what's next for you? What are you working on?
Hmm. Well, I am right now choreographing Hairspray for Scranton Shakes, which is great. I got a little research for that. And then I'm also doing a educational program development program at the People's Light and Theater, which is beautiful. And then I just got appointed as artistic director of Salisbury University's dance department. So I'll be working between here and Maryland next year, building a good program. So I'm excited about that. Yeah, and then I'm just also just looking for grants to try to produce my own work. I'm tired of doing everybody else's work.
Sure, and congratulations on all of that. I am
Thank
so
you.
excited to hear and to see and to witness, knowing
Thank you.
firsthand what your work is, like having worked with you, and then also just seeing it all. But thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for joining me today. And I know it's a little weird because our audience right now is not here, but
Mhm.
I'm sure they will greatly appreciate it. So thank you so much, Sammy.
Oh, thank you so much, Allie. Enjoy your day.